Delighted to be here with you guys. I'm Mike, thank you.
Here I am.
Where, Mike?
I move around on these events, Peter.
And I always salute Mr. Jobs, I call him, Maris, who did such a great job for so many folks and under different administrations. And Senator Klausmeyer, I think Senator Kittleman is here earlier. Oh boy.
And Peter, that's Drew Greenblatt right next to you, as chairman of our board.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to see you. Let me just give you 5 or 10 minutes and then you can ask questions. We're obviously not getting the job done in Maryland. And I look every day at the economic data that comes in across my desk. Greatly appreciate the contribution to your sector, the 115,000 jobs and the billions of dollars of economic activity. But overall, the state, as proud as I am of Maryland's economic bones and entrepreneurial success, obviously we're a very affluent state. As I speak, we need 240,000 private sector jobs just to get back to where we were 4 years ago. And you all know the challenges that you're facing in the private sector. I see the faces of these people when they try to pay their taxes. We collect 3 million tax returns a year. A lot of people put individual notes in their tax returns saying, "Dear Mr. Comptroller, I've always paid my taxes on time, but either I'm unemployed or something else has happened, I can't pay them." And we obviously are bending over backwards to try to help them. But it is a very disturbing situation to me as comptroller to see the pain and suffering that is going on out there that's employment related, and then it spills over into our mortgage situation where anywhere up to a half of all the homes in Maryland are underwater or at risk of being underwater. So I tell people sometimes the story about David Kalinowski, who had a big article about him. And just to give you one face of these 240,000, he's a great guy, he's 50 years old, worked with his hands all his life, an Army vet, lives in Pasadena and worked for a boat building company in Annapolis making hulls for catamarans. Made $50,000 a year, didn't think much about money, was happy, had some ups and downs like all of us, a messy first marriage, second marriage with 2 kids, and then he got laid off in 2008. And he said, normally what I do is I go around and fill out the applications at the auto detailing stores or the window installation stores or the other boat building stores. I wait 3 or 4 weeks and then someone hires me. 3 years he's been looking for work. He's behind on his utility bills, he's now behind on his mortgage. We, the state, took his license away because he got behind on a child support payment from his first marriage. I just want to emphasize, this guy is a great guy. I mean, he is solid. He wants a job desperately. And he looks and looks and looks. Most of the time, he says, I vacuum and clean up my house to help my wife. I'm trying to contribute to the marriage. But I got to tell you, he said, my self-worth erodes a little bit each day that I don't have a job. So, we have a responsibility as a state to look back at what we've done. 2007, we had a special session. The situation, not as bad as this, but there was a lot of economic downturn on the horizon. We chose to go in the direction of a historic, massive tax increase on the argument that that would both correct the structural deficit we had in our public budget and it would create jobs through public investment. Somewhat mirroring what is going on at the national level, except there they don't raise taxes, they just print money, I guess, in the basement somewhere and spend huge amounts of it, telling us that that's going to create a private sector employment. Well, let's be honest, it hasn't worked. Didn't work, certainly didn't work in Maryland with the special session tax increase. And each session after that, we've heard some iteration of higher taxes in order to fix deficits and create jobs. So I'm suggesting, just as your comptroller and to the leadership and to the governor and others, that we do 4 things that don't cost very much money, but I believe would be a major step towards helping the private sector break free from this limbo and uncertainty that currently affects not just your sector, but frankly, the whole private sector as far as employment. Number 1, I'm advocating a 2-year timeout on any tax increase, fee increase, assessment, toll increase, whatever you want to call it, a 2-year timeout in order for the private sector to have predictability as far as its tax environment. Secondly, thank you. And let me be honest, that's not an ideological position. I have voted for a lot of taxes when I was in the legislature. I believe in government investment. I believe in a lot of the things you believe in as far as education, healthcare, and environment. But for the next 2 years, I would suggest a moratorium. Secondly, we need to take the state budget and also some of the larger county budgets and honestly present them to the taxpayers as balanced, free of smoke and mirrors and accounting tricks and legerdemain, which we have all through our public budgets, none of which would pass muster with your CFOs. They would reject our budgets. As I guess, that's just unacceptable in the private sector. But we have perfected these budgets that are balanced in name only. I don't think we as a state have to be afraid of that. We have obviously $1 billion or more structural deficit. I think we can live within our means, prioritize our spending, actually improve, if we partnered with many of you, improve education, healthcare, protecting the environment. I say to my environmental friends, you know, we spend $500 million a year in Maryland on cleaning up the Chesapeake Bay. Every year it gets dirtier, dirtier, and dirtier. Shouldn't we think differently, perhaps, and not just repeat over and over again these appropriations? So I think we can improve the product, use our money more efficiently, and bring our public budgets into balance. Thirdly, we have a backwards relationship with the private sector in Maryland. In Maryland, government is first. That's the thing that we focus on all the time, the federal government, federal agencies, the state. This is our focus. And the private sector is kind of a caboose that we bring along as a, well, in Annapolis, you're viewed as a bottomless pit of tax revenue. But basically, you're there for the ride, and government is the reason that we have, you know, is our state focus. That, I suggest, needs to be reversed. Private sector needs to be put out front. You're the job creators. And we in government are best positioned as a junior partner, regulating, taxing where appropriate, but most of all, being a constructive partner and clearing away the impediments that you all perceive in front of you. And I'm sure there